It's time for TWiT episode 302. Kevin Baradet from Cornell University's Johnson School of Management joins the TWiT panel along with Peter Rojas and Dwight Silverman to talk about Apple Stores 2.0, a lot about cell phones, and a lady who got booted off a train for talking too much. It's all coming up next on TWiT.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Audio bandwidth for This Week in Tech is provided by Winamp for Android, the ultimate media player for your desktop and Android device, featuring wireless sync. Download it free at winamp.com/Android. Video bandwidth for TWiT is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com. This is TWiT, This Week in Tech, episode 302, recorded May 22nd, 2011. Ready, fire, aim. This Week in Tech is brought to you by Ford and the 100% reinvented 2011 Ford Explorer. With room for 7 passengers, best-in-class V6 highway fuel economy, and available sync with My Ford Touch, the 2011 Ford Explorer is perfect for your adventures with the family. For more information and to participate in the Mostly Photo Adventure Awards, visit mostlyphotoadventures.com. And by Carbonite. Backing up the files on your PC or Mac is safe and easy with Carbonite. For a free trial plus 2 free months with purchase, go to carbonite.com. Offer code TWiT. And by Go to Assist Express. If you provide technical support to clients, colleagues, friends, or family, do it easily and without being there in person with Go to Assist Express. For a free 30-day trial, visit gotoassist.com/TWiT. It's time for TWiT. A very good day to you. Leo Laporte here, and joining us for this fine show, Mr. Peter Rojas from Gadget.com. Hey, Peter.
Hey, how's it going?
Good to see you. Nice. How's everything going at Gadget? You just had a big party in San Francisco.
We just had a big party in San Francisco a couple weeks ago, and then we relaunched the site about a week
2.0,
ago.
that's right.
Yeah, just put it out.
Looking good.
Yeah, it's come a long way, and the response from people has been really, really positive.
And you're going to have
feels pretty good.
iPad kiosks on every story now, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
I'll explain what I mean when I get to the news. Also joining us from Houston at blogs.cron.com/techblog, Mr. Dwight Silverman. Hello, Dwight.
Hello, Leo. How are you?
Very good. Good to have you on again. And I want to introduce a newbie to our midst today. Kevin Baradet is the CTO of the Johnson School of Business at Cornell University, and a longtime guy in the tech world. You when you sent me an email, you said, I have sat in the judging chambers of Comdex with Dvorak many a time.
Yes.
Yeah. Pull your mic up there real close. I'm sorry to say those mics have to be in your face for them to work. So what brings you out here, Kevin?
I came out. I had some vacation time to use, so I came out for Maker Faire. And
I love Maker Faire. We had a little coverage last night.
Yeah, spent the day there yesterday, saw Arc Attack, and it was really great to see all the people learning how to solder and
Isn't that neat?
Make things,
Yeah.
and guys in Utilikilts and the steampunk folks.
We went to Maker Faire Detroit, and they had a Utilikilt booth. I almost bought one. My friend Patrick, as you know, they're skirts. They're skirts. Well, anyway, it's good to have you. Welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you.
He sent me an email saying the top 10 reasons why I should be on TWiT, and I was so impressed. He said, come in. So story number 1, and this is the iPad kiosk story. Man, Apple keeps pulling me in every time. We saw the rumor earlier in the week that something big was going to happen at the Apple Store. Employees were being told to stay overnight on Saturday night. We knew that the 10th anniversary of the first Apple Store was this week, so it was presumed something having to do with the 10th anniversary was going down. They said black curtains will be going up. Lots of people will be in. So what is it? It's Apple Store 2.0. Basically, they've rearranged the store, and they put iPads at every place, and you can press. And you don't have to wait for somebody to come and help you. You press a button, like ringing for the butler.
Wasn't that the big news that they're bringing everyone in to let them know they were fired and being replaced by iPads?
That would have been a good story.
It reminds me of Pancho's, that restaurant where you raise the little flag to get more enchiladas. You know?
I don't know if Steve Jobs would really enjoy that description. Yes, now more like ponchos.
Well, you know, the last time I was in the Apple Store, just after the launch of the iPad 2, all of the geniuses were running around with little claws, and every time somebody would put down an iPad 2, they'd have to wipe it off because all the finger grease.
Oh, yeah.
And so I wonder how that's going to look, you know, at the middle of the day when, or they're going to have to run around and wipe everything off, because that gets kind of nasty looking after a while.
Just think of those kids in the mall with the sticky fingers in the...
Yes.
So there's the button, talk to a specialist. Would you like a specialist to come over and answer your questions? Yes. No, thanks. Every device will have a little iPad kiosk right next to it. I think that's actually is a good idea from a retail point of view.
Well, I was in the San Francisco store just yesterday morning, and it was so crowded.
Oh, it's amazing, isn't
with
it?
people milling around. I happened to be up walking around, being on East Coast time, and so I got on the line and got my chit for an iPad and came back later, and it was just a madhouse just after 9 a.m.
Was that 2.0 or is that still the old Apple Store 1.0?
No, I guess it's still the old one, wasn't it? Last night they're going to do the changeover.
How
yeah,
can you know?
It's just packed with people.
Still phenomenally successful. So congratulations, Apple. Wow. Just
although
really...
you know the ideal thing would be is you're standing next to a product and it's got that little iPad next to it, and you tap it, and you shouldn't really, I guess, even need a clerk or help. You just say, I want this, tap,
and one comes down from the ceiling.
Right, and then it comes down from the ceiling, or from, you know, one of the roving Apple Store clerks.
Yeah,
you know?
Here's your iPad. You
right,
rang? Yeah, why should we need a specialist? Just give me an iPad right now.
Give me one.
Cha-ching. Right. Better yet, it's waiting at the door. Your house, it's there. Just go home. Go home. Actually, there may be something to this. This was the week of the rapture. I noticed none of you were picked up. You're all still here.
No, I came back for you guys.
Oh.
I realized I had TWiT. So
Peter, he takes his commitment seriously. Glad you put your clothes back on, too.
No, that was a minimum requirement, Eileen said.
Yeah, you got to have some clothes. So this, in Wapture Week, I think it's appropriate to mention this BBC story. The BBC had a documentary in which they do, I like these, this new technology is called functional MRIs. You can do MRIs of people while they're actually, thinking about things, doing things, and you can see how the brain is responding to stimulus and so forth. And this fMRI is kind of amazing. You can tell all sorts of things about how people are thinking. So this documentary apparently did an fMRI of Apple brains, Apple fan brains. They ran a test on an Apple fanatic and discovered that images of the technology company's gadgets lit up the same parts of the brain as images of the deity do for religious people. Is this a surprise to anyone?
No, not. I mean, what would be more interesting is to see how the brains of Apple haters respond.
It's pretty funny. There's been a video circulating for a while of Steve Jobs in the original Apple Store. In fact, let me see if I can find it. Because when the Apple Store opened 10 years ago, Apple didn't have an iPod, an iPhone.
It was just Macs.
It was just Macs.
Right.
And it's interesting because they did feature other people's MP3 players.
There's a woman here in Houston who's writing a book about sex and the brain. I think it's called Dirty Minds, and she has a Facebook page called "This Is Your Brain on Love." But as part of her research, she basically gave herself an orgasm while in an MRI.
Well.
And the story is in New Scientist that she wrote. She wrote a story for it.
So
and
she was able to get
pictures of her orgasm.
Of a climax.
Yes, in her brain.
And does it look like an Apple Apple gadget lover?
Exactly like an Apple.
I suspect it's somewhat similar. Wow, these fMRIs are very fun. I mean, I don't know how big a story this is. It's certainly not news. Anybody would know this. Let me show a little bit of this video. This was at Macworld. Unfortunately, it's very low quality, But at Macworld Expo, Steve Jobs giving a tour of the first Apple store. What is that, Tyson's Corner, Virginia? Is that where it was?
That was the first one, yeah.
2001. And we're waiting for the video to load. You know, in 2001, it never loaded either. All right, this is, I guess, from an Apple keynote at Macworld Expo.
Hi, I'm Steve Jobs.
Hi, Steve.
And I'm here at Tyson's Corner Mall in Virginia, right outside of Washington, D.C. And I'm standing in front of this wood barricade we built in front of our first retail store that's going to open in 6 days.
Did you think, Dwight or Peter, that Apple was crazy when they said we're going to go into retail? I know I did.
Yes, because of the Gateway.
Gateway was a fiasco.
Closed its store.
I was just going to say,
right.
Gateway did a terrible job with their stores.
They were
and
closing them at this time.
Yeah, I mean, when Gateway opened the stores, though, it seemed like a smart move, right? Because it kind of helped them cut out the middleman with a lot of electronic stores. It's one of those things where it comes down to execution, right? I mean, it's not necessarily just the idea or the concept. It's really about how you execute on that idea. So I think anyone who's visited a Gateway store and then visited an Apple store could see immediately the difference between the two experiences.
Yeah, no cow boxes. They had Lennon and now this is kind of funny. I mean, this is all they had to sell was iMacs.
And our Pro section with all our great Pro products.
Look at these whole
Every product we
Mac
make
Pros.
is in this first 25.
Look at the size. You know what jumps out immediately is the size of the monitors. There's 17-inch displays of the big displays, maybe 20 inches. They're so small.
Here's our newest iBook. We've got iBooks on display. Most of the products are running self-running demos, but you can just walk up to them and start using them for anything you like.
That was actually a good idea, and that's one of the things that stayed true. In fact, this whole iPad kiosk is more of the same, where you can go to an Apple store and really try that stuff. I think that's the secret of their success.
It's more like a high-end car dealership.
Yeah.
Where you walk
Test
in
drive.
and it's kind of, the product is art.
It's interesting to see this because the Apple stores did not change much, at least in look and feel. Obviously, the material, what they were selling changed a lot. Did you see that with somebody else's MP3 player there?
Which probably was an Arcos. I didn't catch it, but
I didn't. Yeah, it looked like a big clunky one.
Well, do you remember they used to, before iTunes, they used I think they used Music Match.
That's
for
right.
the PC.
That's right. They did sell a version of Music Match for
That's
the Mac.
right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then there was a.
So we're carrying 6 digital camcorders, 6 digital cameras,
The Coolpix 995. There it is, the Nomad.
players, and 6 handheld.
Oh, the Palm.
Wow, a Palm.
A Palm.
All products that they've basically put out of business.
Yeah, right.
That's right.
Yeah, whatever happened to that creative Nomad? Whatever happened to Palm?
Buy a computer, or after you bought a computer, if you had any questions, you could ask a genius. Well, that's what we've got.
That's the
This
most
is
stupid
called
thing.
The Genius Bar.
That I'm not
I'm
crazy
not a genius, but I'll stand behind here.
But people
There'll be
love
somebody
it.
Here
I mean, people
who
do.
can
There are
service
people who.
writers.
I guess
who
it
will
does
buy a
speak
Mac
to
with that.
normal people, doesn't it?
You've got
Right.
about
Yep.
Mac.
Normal people feel like if you understand this stuff, you must be a genius. So it makes sense to them.
That person doesn't know
Boy, it sure is white. It's supposed to look like, oh, look, a hotline with a dial, it looks like. It does look like he's in heaven, doesn't it?
THX 1138.
Yeah. Very sci-fi.
We've got an exceptional rear projection
Not a lot
screen.
changed, and I think this is really what an Apple store today would look like, except for the products.
Videos back here,
Right.
and of course,
And the TV sets may be back someday.
iTunes visualizations back
Do you
here.
believe that? Do you really
No.
think that they're going to do a TV set?
No, I think I think the experience that HP and Dell had, that's so low margin and so hard to do as at the kind of margins that Apple likes to do it. I just don't think they could do it, and it just makes no sense for them to do it. With the possible exception of the notion that it makes it easier if it's all in one unit. But other than that, I don't see any reason why Apple would want to do that.
Well, it was a big success. Apple Store 2.0 just got 20 minutes of coverage out of TWiT. Damn them. I can't. All right. Here's the seamy side. The other big Apple story this week, Apple users being badly bit, it seems, from this Mac Defender virus, which is very similar to a virus that's been spreading in the PC world, or a number of viruses in the PC world, where it warns you you've got malware. You go, oh, my God. I think it even says the Apple Security Center. But we have a fix. Download it. Of course, you download it. You give them a credit card, and you're dead. This is this the what we've been waiting for all this time? The end of the age of innocence for Apple. Interesting. Apple's response to this. Apparently, Ed Bott talked to an anonymous Apple Care support rep who says, we are not supposed to help customers remove malware from their computers. He also said that our phone lines are currently being jammed by mostly people with Mac Defender problems. Apple says we won't fix it. It's your problem.
Well, and that's in their terms of service. The Apple
They're
Care
very clear
terms
about
of service.
that.
Yeah, the Apple Care terms of service says that they don't help with malware, and to a certain extent, they have liability issues if they start telling people delete this file, delete that file. It can, they can end up with more problems.
And imagine the length of that call if they start doing that.
Right. Although Microsoft does it. Microsoft has a number that you can call specifically to get help with malware.
Right.
So, but they're set up for that. I mean, Microsoft has a few years of experience, and so they're set up to do that. But in this case, Apple is kind of, I guess, is going to have to learn from scratch.
Yeah. Kevin, do you have a lot of Macs that you support at Johnson
We're
School?
starting to across the university. There's quite a few. We've been a kind of a PC only support area.
So you have a lot of malware experience. What do you do? I mean, you've got to support students, professors, and their computers. Do you protect them?
They have site licenses for various anti-malware components.
That's what Apple's telling their customers is get Sophos or
And for the students, we don't do too much because they own those devices. So we send them to a local service provider. We do provide them some guidance, but in most cases, it's not worth your time to muck around with it. We just make sure the data is backed up, check for identity information, and then just wipe the hard drive, wipe the boot sector, and drop a new image on it. It's much faster, and you got it.
Bott said that his anonymous AppleCare representative told him that our call volume here is 4 to 5 times higher than normal, and the overwhelming majority of our calls are about Mac Defender and its brethren. And Tigo, who discovered Mac Defender, said the same thing. Now, don't forget, Apple folks, in order to do this, you have to enter your password. Apple's always been that way. It's kind of like Windows UAC, only even if you're logged in as an administrator, you still have to give it administrator credentials to escalate to administrator.
Right. And, there's kind of this reaction from some of the Mac diehard users, longtime users, who are saying, well, this isn't really the Macpocalypse that people have warned about, because you have to enter enter this information, and it's an installer. You actually have to take action to put it on your machine. But the thing is, this is what most Windows malware is now. The vast majority of spyware programs are these fake anti-spyware programs that trick you into installing them. And so this is exactly what Windows users are facing right now, the old paradigm of the virus, or the idea that you install something that has something else embedded in it. That's kind of gone, and now you have this social engineering based malware, and Mac users are facing the same thing. This is created by a software kit that's selling among hackers for about $1,000. You can just, like, a couple of clicks and you build yourself some Mac malware.
Brian Krebs, the former Washington Post security guy, and still a very good security guy, said, oh, well, just Mac users just have to remember, don't install software you didn't ask to install. But I don't know if that's really adequate. I mean, this is why this works. It's social engineering. They're tricking you into installing software. Right. You do want to install it. You specifically clicked the button and said, yes, install it. That's not the issue. The issue is, do you believe this warning? And obviously people do. So they install it. How do you teach people, especially Mac people who've never had to do this before, not to do this?
Well, I guess it's difficult. You need to touch the hot stove a couple times.
That's it. Burn them.
Well, not burn them, but you learn that you need to read and question. We always tell our folks that if something funny happens or have any suspicious, give someone a call before you click on the button. But then people click so fast to make the screens go away.
Yeah. I tell people difficult. Google it. I said, I say, look, and I tell Windows users this, and I tell Mac users this. I say, if you see something that says Apple Security Center you have a problem, buy this or download this. It's one step. Just Google in Apple Security Center, because if it is malware, you will see 1,000 entries on Google saying, no, I install it, don't install it, it's terrible.
Yeah, I guess if they're asking for your credit card number.
Yeah, the minute you get that.
Yeah, that's when you close the screen out, and if you didn't initiate it.
Yeah, I mean,
well, one of the problems with this is that there actually is a software program that's legitimate called Mac Defender.
Well,
I think it's based in Germany.
It's a German company. It's not antivirus, though. It's I don't think.
Yeah, it's some of the security program, right? Yeah. Right. The other thing is that at least with a lot of Windows programs, when you get these pop-ups that say, you need to scan and click here to do it, or no thanks, a lot of times the no thanks button is also a yes button, or the whole window pop-up window is a yes button. And I don't know if that's how this particular thing is working. There are some reports. Ed also dug up about 200 different threads in the Apple discussion forums in which people were saying that they didn't think they actually installed this, that they just began getting these pop-ups. And of course, if you have Safari set up, it'll automatically launch friendly files that you download. So that may be what's happening.
Right.
But
the initial attack was through a poisoning of a Google image search. So you do an image search, and the website that's serving the image, not Google, but the website where the image lived, has been hacked, and pops up this warning. But I mean, we can look. Anybody who listens to this show is not going to get bit by this. I don't
Probably
think.
not.
Right. It's more like on the radio show, or when you do your radio show, Dwight, where those are the people we got to reach out to and say, hey, just Google it. Be smart.
And there's also this large group of Mac users who are former Windows users who came over to the Mac side because they were running away from viruses. They got viruses all the time, and the reason they got malware, spyware, and viruses, to a certain extent, had to do with their behavior. And so they get on the Mac platform and they think, oh, I don't have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah.
And so in fact, I have had Mac users who used to be Windows users tell me they switched because they could surf porn safely. And that's just like astounding to me. So you have this kind of setup where people are going, they're doing the same things that they did when they were Windows users, and they're vulnerable.
So yeah, and I think just like Dwight's saying, I mean, one of the problems is that Apple kind of leaned into that, right? They didn't discourage people from thinking that Macs were a lot safer than than Windows PCs, and by and large they are safer. I mean, there are obviously fewer viruses and things like that for Macs, but they're nothing. No platform is foolproof, and I think if people don't become more vigilant in the way that they use their computers, eventually you're going to have similar issues come up.
Well, it's the end of the age of innocence for the Macintosh. There's no doubt about that. There was an interesting article in the unofficial Apple weblog. I think it was that's where I saw it, where the guy did a little calculus. Because the question has always been, are Apples somehow safer because they're more secure, or just because they're under attack? And he said, it's pretty obvious that just like Willie Sutton robbed banks because that's where the money is, bad guys are going to go where the opportunity to make the most, effective attacks are. And you just looked at the raw numbers of Windows users. It was always Windows. It was not only was it easier, but that's where you make the money. But he says what's happened is, as Windows has become more secure, as users have become more sophisticated, he said, an estimated 80% of Windows users are now running antivirus software. They're updating regularly. They're no longer really that easily attacked. That leaves only 20%, whereas virtually no Mac users are protected in any way or know anything at all about security. So what's happened is that 20% of Windows users that are vulnerable is now roughly equal to the total number of Mac users, which is about 17% of the total. So he says there's a line you cross at which point it becomes economically viable to go after Macs.
And it'll probably continue to seesaw back and forth, and eventually the Linux people will catch up.
You're just a fountain of light and happiness, Kevin. That's wonderful to know.
If there's money to be made, someone will try and exploit it.
Right. And I think that the thing to really say that's very clear is that anything can be exploited if there's enough incentive to do so. It's a matter of incentive and effectiveness. And I don't think the Macs are more secure. It's obvious they're not more secure. even if you have to enter a password to hack your Mac.
I mean, to be fair, I have seen people make the argument that because OS 10 is based on Unix, that it is fundamentally safer than Windows.
You know, I
In the
thought
same way
about
that
that.
Linux-
I may have made that argument, but I think it's a marginally more effective. Perhaps.
I mean, perhaps, but I've seen security experts make that argument to me, and I'll be honest, I'm not technically sophisticated enough to be able to judge something like that.
It's more.
Well, you also have to keep in mind the very first worm was for Unix.
Right.
The cuckoo's egg worm, that
Right.
was for Unix. And so every operating system is vulnerable.
I think the reason that you might say the Apple's more secure is because it's based on an operating system that was multi-user from day one, whereas Windows was really never designed around security, and that was an after-the-fact add-on in XP and NT, which is now truly a multi-user operating system, and I think over years Windows has become much more secure.
Well, this is a little bit different. It doesn't matter how secure the underlying operating system is because the user lets them in the door. And once you're on the other side of the security barrier, anything's possible.
Right.
Especially when you ask them to put in their credit card and their password.
You know, one of the things apparently that this program is doing is you enter the credit card and it says, no, that's wrong. Try another one. And then another credit card says, no, that's wrong. Try another one. So the idea is to try to trick you into entering multiple, not just one, but give them all your credit cards. And I think I talk to people on the radio show all the time. It's not that they're dumb. It's just that they're not thinking. They're trusting, and they do it, and they give them the credit card. I had a guy last week call the show. He said, I'm over at a friend's house. Her computer was hacked. She's running Windows. I ran the Windows scan. And then I got a message saying you need the Windows Advanced module. So I bought that and downloaded and installed it. So am I okay now? And I said, the Windows what? He said, the Windows. I said, there's no Windows Advanced module. What are you talking about? I said, did that cost $79.95? He said, well, as a matter of fact, it did. And everything started working again. I said, I felt bad because his friend that he came over to help is sitting right next to him. And what I have to tell her and him right now is, your buddy just downloaded a virus and put it on his computer.
You just emasculated this guy.
The poor guy. He ain't getting laid tonight.
Well, I got a call a couple months ago from the credit card company asking if I'd purchased $1,000 worth of perfume in the last 15 minutes. So I called my mom and I said, it's not for me. But they caught it. But I have a card I just use for web transactions. And so if that doesn't go through, I don't complete the transaction for
that's
whatever
smart.
reason.
That's smart. Yeah.
And it has a fairly low limit, and the bank does call if something weird happens.
Kevin, you're sure you didn't buy $1,000 worth of perfume?
No, I did not. It wasn't my scent.
He smells good, doesn't he, Leo?
I'm sitting in the room with him. I just want to say you smell mighty fresh.
Well, it's the barbecue sandwich from the Petaluma grocery store.
Oh, to me, I think, and most guys I would think would agree, is there's no better perfume than barbecue sauce. That's what I'm looking for. That's a good flavor. All right, we're going to take a break. We have it's great to have you in, Kevin Baradet, who is an actual person on the ground dealing with technology, CTO at Cornell's Johnson School of Business.
Graduate School of Management.
Graduate School of Management, sorry. Management business. Difference?
No, not really.
It's all the same. Great, very famous, very great school, and really nice to have you, in here. Also, Peter Rojas from GDGT and Dwight Silverman. Actually, when we come back, Peter, I want to ask you, because you deal with cell phones a lot. It strikes me that the real apocalypse is going to be when cell phones start to be hacked, because they're just made.
It started a long time ago, actually.
Has it really?
Yeah. People were doing hacks via Bluetooth.
Oh, snarfing. That's right.
Yeah. Remember there was that whole scandal where, remember when Paris Hilton's cell phone got hacked?
Yeah, but that's
sidekick.
because she used her dog's name as her secret question.
Sure, but
what's your dog's name?
Obviously stupid things.
Yeah.
But people were snarfing and being able to like penetrate people's phones via Bluetooth. And I remember writing about that like 6-7 years ago.
Right, but yet there's not been a really good widespread mobile hack. Maybe are mobile phones more secure? I mean, they're supposed to be. They're trying to be. They're trying to be
I mean, yes and no. I mean, I think that it's people are. It depends on the platform, right? I mean, if you look at Android, which is more open,
right.
and there have been instances of people creating apps that fish for people's personal details and things like that, passwords, etc.
Well, I just wait for the day that we do a twit and instead of saying, "Oh, Mac Defender," we're saying, the big Android virus that's sweeping the world, and it can cost you a lot of money. I mean, it's not merely getting personal information now. They can send text messages for $25. There's all sorts of stuff they can do.
Or run through your contact list, and that's worth money.
Yeah.
At RSA, this year there was a session about cell phones, and that cabbies get paid when they find a cell phone. They get paid a certain amount of money if they find a cell phone and turn it over. They get paid more money if as soon as they find the cell phone, they pull the battery.
So you can't wipe it, or
so you can't wipe it. So they know to go to a corner
That's so
somewhere,
smart.
roll up, hand the cell phone out the window. They get paid cash, and then the people take it into a shielded room and fire it up and suck the contacts out of it.
It's not the cell phone they want; it's the data.
It's the data, because people have contacts, passwords, credit card numbers.
Wow! Don't lose your cell phone, folks.
No.
Wow. So maybe it is happening. It's just not making the news. Before we go on, I want to talk a little bit about our friends at Ford, the Ford Explorer, and our show, Mostly Photo. I'm really glad I can give you a little plug for our Mostly Photo show. It's every Tuesday. We do it live, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern at live.twit.tv with Lisa Bettany. Chris Marquardt will be our guest. What we've been doing is we've been bringing in great photographers to show you their photos, give you tips. I just really enjoy it, and I really am glad to have Ford as a sponsor. The brand new 100% reinvented 2011 Ford Explorer. I think one of the reasons Ford wants to be involved because the Explorer is just like the perfect family vehicle for photographers and people who want to go on adventures and go on treks. It is a sweet, beautiful vehicle. We've been driving Explorers at all our photo walks. Of course, it has the available sync with My Ford Touch with the big 8-inch screen in the console, the 2 screens behind the steering wheel. Simply the best in-car entertainment, navigation, phone call system out there. And we also want you to go to our Mostly Photo Adventures website, mostlyphotoadventures.com, because every week we have a little vote on a vote on our pictures submitted by our listeners and viewers. And you get to vote as well as the judges get to vote. If you go to mostlyphotoadventures.com and click the link that says finalists, you can find out about how to submit your picture. You can see who the finalists are and then see the Twitter tag that allows you to vote. This week we've got Tress Chapin, CM Ortega, and Visual Ideas. 3 amazing landscape photos. And we want you to pick your winner. Lisa will pick her winner. And each of you will get a $100 gift certificate from Amazon thanks to Ford and the 2011 Ford Explorer. This was our winner last week. This is a really sweet picture. Just love it.
That's a great.
Isn't that great? And the one the week before was, I think, a prize winner from Kenny L. This was actually taken at our New York photo walk. Lisa did a photo walk that started at the Fifth Avenue Apple store. These guys are at a wedding. The photographer was on the photo walk, ran over and took this picture. I just think it's a classic. It looks like it's straight out of Vogue. Just a really fun picture. Mostlyphotoadventures.com. And thanks again to Ford. An invitation to visit your local Ford dealer and try that 2011 Ford Explorer. Best-in-class V6 highway fuel economy. The sync with My Ford Touch. It is just spectacular.
I ended up with a Ford Focus 2011 for the rental car.
It's nice, isn't it?
Yes. I was very, very, it's probably the best rental car I've had.
I already sent a tweet to Scott Monty at Ford because I already said, but I'm waiting because I want to get the 2012 electric Focus, right? So I'm really excited about that. That'll be out probably end of the year. And so I already sent a tweet to him saying, can you help me out? And he said, well, we might have some for select editorial to drive in the summer. So I'm crossing my fingers. But it's a nice car.
Yes.
You got the gas one, but they have a gas, they have a hybrid, they have a plug-in hybrid coming, and then they have electric coming. They've really done a nice job. We're really glad to be associated with Ford. I mean, not only is it prestigious, but I just think I like what they're doing.
I think they made a good
they pivoted.
rebound. Yeah.
They did the pivot. And so few companies are able to do that, to go from being a 20th century, even a 19th century industrial company into the 21st century is not easy to do. Not at all easy to do. Speaking of cell phones, this is not a tech story, but I got to mention it anyway. A woman on a train ride from Oakland to Salem, Oregon. Should I run the video? You're laughing. You already know what I'm going with this. You already know what I'm going with this. So she gets on the train. It gets in. Amtrak has a kind of quiet car that you can go into. She goes into the quiet car, pulls out her cell phone, and for the next, get this, 16 hours, blabs loudly on the cell phone in the quiet car.
I want a phone with that battery life.
Yeah, no
that's
kidding.
the first thing I thought is that.
How did she do it?
Why didn't someone pay off the conductor to turn the power off?
Let me tell you something. This is the train coming in. Somebody shot video into Salem, Oregon.
Cars.
Huh?
2 squad cars.
2 squad cars. This is a big arrest about to go down here.
Yeah.
This woman, they announced in the car several times, you're in the quiet car. She apparently got in a verbal altercation with the people in the car who said, shut up. And she said, you're disrespecting me. She stayed on the phone talking loudly for 16 hours at Salem, Oregon. They took her off the train and arrested her for disorderly conduct. That poor woman. But I got to say, right on. Why is it, Peter, maybe you know, why is it people talk so loudly on cell phones?
It's because they think that it's because they're having trouble hearing the person they're speaking to, and they think that being louder themselves will make it easier to hear the person they're talking to. But the funny thing about cell phone conversations is that they actually did some studies and found that what makes them especially irritating is hearing just one side of a conversation will bother people, whereas if you are just hearing both people talking together, it's much less annoying. And I think it's because of the discontinuity of hearing someone talk and then it pauses.
You're only hearing half of it.
You're only hearing half of it.
So
Exactly.
if you were eavesdropping on a conversation, at least you'd have something to listen to.
Exactly.
Well, also,
so it's like they've shown that people are like way less annoyed if you can hear both people talking.
So I should do it on the speakerphone, and then it'd be okay.
But not in the quiet car, apparently.
Not in the quiet car.
I think one of the reasons why people talk louder, I've heard this, is that on a cell phone you don't have the feedback from your speaker
You
back
don't hear
into
yourself.
your ear. If you're on a landline, you can hear your own. It's like having headphones, when you're doing radio.
Yeah.
And you can hear yourself, and so you're able to modulate better. And I think you don't get that kind of feedback on a cell phone.
Yeah, there's side tone from the mouthpiece into the earpiece.
In a regular phone.
In a
you can hear
regular phone.
yourself.
It's something Bell Labs did many years ago when they
Probably
went
for the same reason.
For the same reason, because people were shouting.
What? I can't hear you.
And they found if you fed a little bit of their own voice into their ear, they talked it in more normal
What's
volume.
wrong with Nokia? Why didn't they do that? What? Give me some side tone.
Probably because of feedback concerns.
It may also it would use some
Battery.
Yeah. They'd have to redesign the cell phones. So, Peter, you had an interesting, speaking of Nokia, an interesting article on Gadget this week.
Yeah. I do a newsletter each week for the site now.
Suggesting that maybe Microsoft should pick up Nokia.
Well, it was less like suggesting that they do and more sort of trying to think about why they might do it because, the rumor went around, earlier this week. And I actually did hear from some people that the two companies have been at least talking about the possibility. I don't know how advanced it is.
How much would Nokia be?
It'd be like $35 billion or something like that. It'd be doable. I mean, they would have paid a similar amount for Yahoo at one point.
That's right. I don't know if that's a recommendation, but that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I think it comes down to Microsoft kind of recognizing that, however you slice it, all the growth in computing is going to be in mobile for the foreseeable future. And
that's right.
Microsoft just doesn't, getting Nokia to adopt Windows Phone is a big win, but otherwise, they haven't gotten a lot of traction for Windows Phone, and they don't have a dog in the tablet fight really at all.
Microsoft paid Nokia $1 billion to use Microsoft Windows Phone 7 in the new Nokia handsets. Although Nokia says they're kind of redesigning those handsets. They're kind of not going to be what you expect, right, for a Windows Phone?
Well, I mean, I think that's the hope, is that Nokia is going to bring its hardware expertise to bear.
Please redesign it, please.
Do something. Oh, the thing is, Nokia, I mean, has historically been great at hardware. They have great engineers. They have great, they're really great at getting the most out of the hardware.
I have an N8, and it's the greatest phone ever, and it's the worst It just feels like a 10-year-old operating system. It's a Symbian 16.
Symbian's even older than that, but
well, and I used Symbian when it was on the Scion 3A. That was my favorite little PDA.
Yeah, it's Nokia found out the hard way that if you don't really invest in your platform and take those big risks and sort of cannibalize yourself, that somebody else is going to do it for you.
So you think it's credible that this might happen?
I think it's possible. I don't think it's probable yet. I think it's a huge amount of money to spend. I think that Ballmer doesn't really have that sort of big strategic vision, and it's also not really clear whether there would be enough value in buying Nokia when they already have them agreeing to use the OS.
Right.
One of the scenarios that I sort of was thinking about, I actually didn't talk about in the newsletter, but is maybe they split off the dumb phone business from the smartphone business, and Microsoft just buys the smartphone business and then sells the dumb phone business to like ZTE or some rising Chinese manufacturer.
Right.
And then it's a smaller deal.
It's still an international market for the the feature phones.
Absolutely. It's going to be smaller and smaller over time, but it's still enormous right now.
Well, maybe, I don't know. Microsoft's got to do something. I think that's really the bottom line of your article is that's why these rumors are flying around. Microsoft is just kind of dead in the water, and they're talking about Windows tablets. I mean, come on.
Well, I mean, one of the things they're going to do is they're going to bring Windows 8 to ARM processors.
Yeah, Intel had some interesting things to say about that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, things are going to get ugly there. I think Intel obviously is sort of feeling challenged by all this stuff, and someone just posted in the chat room, Intel 2 is dead in the water, and Intel has been kind of left behind when it comes to mobile processors. ARM is really kind of dominating there right now.
Yeah, and Intel would very much like to get mobile, but the thing that scared them was the idea that Windows 8 might run on ARM. Paul Ottolini, talking to analysts, said that Microsoft would have 4 versions of Windows on ARM. He says, I believe Intel is still the only architecture at the chip level whose silicon runs every major operating system out there. The ARM guys are getting a port to Windows, but what the ARM guys are getting is 4 ports to Windows. Every operating system has to write to the chip. And with the writing of Microsoft is doing it for 4 versions of ARM vendors is like Android writing to multiple versions of the ARM chip.
Are they 4 different versions or just 4 different SKUs?
I guess what he's saying is because there isn't one ARM processor, right? So they'd have to write for different ARM manufacturers.
Okay.
And you'd have to have this is Windows for whatever Cortex, Windows for. I think this is fun. In fact, Microsoft dismisses.
Yeah, Microsoft has dismissed a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting question: what in your N8, Leo? What is the processor?
I don't even know, to be honest with you.
Is it an ARM? Is it an ARM processor?
Should I open it up?
I'm sure it must be. I was surprised if it was anything else.
It's got to be. Everything's an ARM.
Right. What makes it interesting is if, let's say that Peter's idea comes to pass and you end up buying Nokia, and then you also have this strategic deal with ARM. That could be very interesting for both the Windows Phone 7 and the Windows 8 operating system.
It's a 680 megahertz ARM 11. So it's kind of a low and slow. It's not a very fast processor.
But it is an ARM.
But it is an ARM.
That's what
AMOLED capacitive touch, which is part of the problem. Mm-hmm. You can really feel that. It has a great camera. I mean, it's really what it is. It's a point and shoot camera that happens to have a phone in it. But the operating system is it's 12 megapixel camera in here.
the thing about Windows Phone 7 is it really is a nice operating system. It's very fun and cool to use, and it's very satisfying to use. It's still somewhat incomplete, and hopefully that'll get fixed faster than Microsoft is fixing it, but it kind of deserves a chance, I think.
Absolutely.
You
very
agree, Peter?
friendly
You like
operating
it too?
system.
I like it. It's actually, Microsoft went back to the drawing board and they actually, created something really nice. It's a very intuitive user interface, and it feels kind of fresh in a lot of ways that even iOS doesn't feel fresh anymore. And I think the problem is they just were a little late to the game, and haven't been able to get the kind of support behind it that just some of that just takes time. And I think they've also done a kind of a mediocre job of marketing it, just like they did a mediocre job of marketing Zune.
They're the worst marketers. They just don't understand marketing at all, which is baffling.
If you
But
want to see something
Xbox,
really,
they've done a great job with Xbox.
I guess.
if you want to see something really interesting, there's a Twitter client for the iPhone called Maha.
Yeah.
And this is a Windows, I don't know how well this will work, but this is a Windows.
It's using like a Metro OS?
Yes,
Metro UI,
yes,
I mean?
it looks like it looks very much like
It does. Yeah.
like Zune, and you can do black or a white background, and it has that same kind of oversized font for the headers.
Interesting.
And the menus swing away like it does.
Right.
But it's really interesting. You're seeing people being influenced by that design, and I find that really interesting.
Yeah,
Tuesday, Microsoft's got a big event in New York. They're going to apparently show 9 new Windows phones. They'll finally get the Windows Phone on Verizon and is it Sprint that they're missing? Yeah, Verizon and Sprint. And also they supposedly be talking about their Mango update. Do you know anything about this, Peter?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to have a bunch of
Cut and paste.
just stuff like that, like coming to
Finally.
it. I think to me the bigger issue is less what is going to be in the updates and how are they going to start rolling them out successfully. Because one of the whole ideas behind Windows Phone was that Microsoft would have more control, and so you wouldn't have the Android issue where phones are coming out. I mean, Android 2.3 has been out for 6 months now or something like that, and like people are still putting out phones on 2.2. And then phones are not getting upgraded. And
Right.
I think one of the things that Microsoft sort of promised with Windows Phone is we'll have more control. It'll be tighter distribution, and so we'll be able to roll out updates more quickly. And that hasn't really happened as much as it's supposed to have. So that's the thing that I'm more curious about is when they announce this, what's the plan to getting the update out to as many phones as possible?
Well, and it's a double-edged sword. If I think Microsoft was smart in saying these are the hardware standards, so most Windows phones are very, very similar, but they all reach a certain level of functionality. I think the amount of memory is about the only difference, and of course form factor. So but that's a double-edged sword, as you said, Peter. If they don't take advantage of it, the disadvantage is there's no excitement. When we've got 9 new Windows phones coming out on Tuesday, but so what? It's going to be very much like the existing Windows phone. There's no excitement. Whereas every time an Android phone comes out, there's a lot of buzz about, well, this one's going to have dual processors or a bigger screen or higher res screen or whatever.
They're
going to have to start. I mean, they did promise way back when they announced Windows Phone that they would eventually offer more flexibility to manufacturers in terms of what they can do, what they can, the processors and screen resolutions and that sort of thing.
Yeah, but right now they're very similar, and I think that it's intentional.
It is intentional because they wanted to keep,
Avoid the
they
fragmentation.
wanted to have a more consistent experience across all the devices.
Kevin, you were going to say?
Well, I don't think they'll be lining up at 6 a.m. outside the store to get a chit to come back at 9 a.m. to buy them.
Yeah, that's obvious. So Gartner estimated that about 1.6 million Windows phones were sold in the first quarter. That's about 500,000 a month. Compare that. That's about 4 days worth of Android phone sales. 400,000 people.
It's not as substantial by any measure.
Yeah.
And I know that the numbers disappointed people at Microsoft as well. I think that they thought that the adoption rate would be a little stronger at this point.
Yeah.
And Microsoft has yet to give out its own numbers. They have yet to say what anything. They're kind of being like Amazon with the Kindle. You know, they have yet to say exactly how many of these are sold, and that's not like Microsoft.
Right.
Usually, they're trumpeting.
Well,
it
you
if
know
they're
why
having
they're
a
not
story
saying
to
it.
tell.
Yeah, you know exactly why
Right,
they're keeping
right,
that quiet.
Right.
And this is the death blow. Angry Birds won't ship until June 29th. It's been delayed. That's it. Forget it. Nobody's going to buy it. Did you see Rovio announced that what was it? 200 million copies of Angry Birds have been downloaded.
That's amazing.
Several hundred million minutes a day, and the CEO said, "Well, those are minutes you probably would have been doing anything with anyway."
Yeah, right.
That's time you would have wasted doing something else. 200 million. I can't. That's mind-boggling that many copies of anything have been downloaded. That's like Windows numbers.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And I think AT&T. I've got one of the new AT&T the Infuse, and it ships with Angry Birds on it. So it comes as Angry Birds is
Angry
right
Birds
on
is the Microsoft Office of the mobile era.
right.
I have that phone too, Dwight.
What do you think of it?
Yeah, it's a great phone.
Yeah.
Tell me more about it.
Dwight, you want to go first?
Okay. Well, it's a kind of an oversized Galaxy phone.
It looks big. Yeah. Is it 4.3 or is it bigger?
4.5, I believe.
4.5.
It's almost a tablet.
It's almost a
It's,
Dell Streak.
Yes, although it's fairly fast, but I don't know about Peter where you are, but in Houston, the HSPA Plus network is horrible.
No, it's
And
pretty bad here in New York too.
Yeah, I'm getting slower speeds with this 4G phone with internet connection than I am with my iPhone. Which is
That's
3G.
terrible. So this is T-Mobile or AT&T? This is AT&T?
AT&T.
AT&T, yeah. And it's the first Android mobile phone that is shipped that allows side loading. It actually has the checkbox that says get it from sources other than the market. And so you can check that, and then you can just go ahead and download.
Wait, no, my phones have always done that.
For AT&T.
Oh, for AT&T.
Yeah.
AT&T, right.
Oh, a
right.
good reason not to buy an
AT&T
AT&T Android phone. I didn't know they didn't have that.
I think they're changing the policy because they realized how stupid it was.
Yeah,
And
no
actually
kidding.
the old phones with it. They're going to go back to the old phones and change those so they do it. So.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's why I always buy just the vanilla Google phone. I really hate actually more than what the carriers do. I actually hate what the manufacturers do. The UI they put, especially Samsung's.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Samsung stuff, and one of the things I do is one of the nice things about Android is you can you can download and install your own launcher.
Right.
And so I usually do ADW Launcher or Launcher Pro, and you get a much nicer experience, much cleaner.
I love Launcher Pro. I haven't used ADW, but so you
they're similar.
Okay.
They're not interchangeable, but they're both really nice.
anything's
And,
better than TouchWiz.
Yeah, the TouchWiz 4.0 is nicer than TouchWiz 3.0. I'll tell you that. And which is TouchWiz 3.0 is on the Infuse, and TouchWiz 4.0 I think is on the Galaxy S2, which just came out in Europe.
So is this new phone your phone of choice right now, Peter? What do you think of it?
So I've been using this. I've been the battery life has been really inconsistent for me. Some days it's really good, and some days it's not good, and it isn't. I tend to use the phone the same way each day, so I'm trying to figure out what the issue is.
Yeah.
But it's so light, given the size.
It looked really thin when Dwight was holding it up. It looked really thin.
It's very thin.
Yeah.
And it's like I have the Dell Streak, the 5-inch Streak.
Yeah.
And it's like it's so different. The Streak, you're like, oh, this is big, and it just feels like too big to be a phone. But the Infuse, I mean, it fits in your pocket really well. Typing on it is really nice because the screen is so big. I put it next to somebody's iPhone the other day, and the iPhone honestly looks like a kid's toy.
It's dinky.
I think Apple is going to have to come out with a bigger screen.
I think this is pushing them that way, isn't it? Yeah.
Because 3.5 inches is just too small. Like I can't type on 3.5 inches, especially when you get used to typing on 4.5.
The iPhone seems small. It's funny though. It's like these phones are swelling a little bit by a time until somebody says, "Okay, stop." That was too big. Too big. Back.
4.5 is the max, I think.
We now know.
You know what?
Yeah.
I think Acer is doing a 4.7-inch phone.
Well, that's
so we'll
it.
see how that goes.
We'll see, right?
Yeah.
So
and then there's the Palm Veer.
Yeah, and finally we see an HPOS. Now, anybody have a Palm Veer?
A tiny little phone.
Yeah. Peter, you got one?
I played with it, but I don't have one.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the Pre 3 though.
When's the Pre 3 coming out?
I think in June. Soon.
It's just, I have to say for years I really resisted covering cell phones because I thought this is too gadgety. These aren't. I'm a tech journalist. I cover computers, and But the thing is, a cell phone was something always that you could talk about. In fact, it was one of those things. It was, normally you walk around in the real world, people don't talk about tech. Only geeks like us talk about tech. But when you go like into a radio station sales department. The one thing that we could talk about besides basketball games was your cell phone. What do you got? Well, I'll tell you, I get this. And this was even before smartphones. Now that these things are actually computers, I'm much happier covering them. There's something to talk about. And it has exploded. I mean, who cares about computers anymore?
Well, you said 200 million downloads
there
of
you
Angry
go.
Birds. I mean,
that tells you something.
I think it'll be the point where there'll be as many, phones approaching the number of people. And it'll certainly be more than the number of computers.
So is it the Samsung? It is the Samsung Super AMOLED.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
And a full suite of entertainment on the go, including Media Hub. When I see that, why do they even put that in the selling points? I don't want that. What is that? It's crap.
That's their download service.
I just hate it when they
media download service.
Yeah, when they announce this stuff like you want it.
So I'm going to tell you the only thing I don't like about the Infuse is the screen resolution, which is wide VGA. You look at like a lot of the phones coming out now, like the Atrix 4G and the HTC Sensation have the QHD, which is
So what are the numbers on those? Do you know?
It's similar. It's like I wish I should know this by heart.
No, I should too. You and me both.
The QHD. Someone in chat's gonna say 960 by 540. Thank you to everyone in chat. Is QHD, and that's almost the same as the iPhone. And so like the HTC Sensation and the Atrix 4G have that higher resolution display, and it looks really nice. The Infuse has that 4.5 inch screen, but it's 800 by 480, and so the fonts just don't look as good.
Well, it looks like we're going to go Retina everywhere, right? Was it Samsung that announced this new super high DPI?
That was Sharp.
Toshiba.
For the 10-inch display?
Well, even for smaller ones, right? But tablets, what we were seeing like 357 DPI or PPI, and I guess on phones too.
Yeah, we will see it eventually, and it's going to create challenges for people because you're going to have to start creating graphics which are not
that's true.
Pixel dependent.
Right. I tell you, this is the thing that kills. Unfortunately, that kills the Galaxy Tab because it's I'm actually in love with this tablet. The hardware is spectacular, but the OS just doesn't. And there's not enough, and there are not enough apps for it. 8-megapixel camera on the Infuse. Good. Is it a good camera? Is it as good as the iPhone?
It's a decent camera. It doesn't. Megapixels isn't necessarily what makes a great camera.
No, I think the iPhone is the gold standard at only 5 megapixels. There's nothing even close, as far as I can tell.
The thing I don't like about it is, it's a supposedly a higher quality, brighter AMOLED screen, but outside it washes out completely. I can't even see it outside in bright daylight.
The real thing is, I'm not going to buy an AT&T phone. No, I don't care what they make. I'm just done with AT&T.
What do you use now?
I actually love, and I know T-Mobile. Good luck, but
don't get too attached.
No,
right?
I know. The G2X though, I really love it. But as with all these smart Android phones, battery life's an issue. Although one thing I noticed is interesting, the display is never anywhere near the. It's very. I think it's an IPS LCD display, and it is very low power. And I think that that's interesting. It's always, 5% of the total battery usage compared to any of these Samsung phones where it's almost always 50% is this screen. I mean, it really uses up a lot of screen. So it's a nice screen, but battery life is terrible. So what I bought was an external charger and a second battery. And now I carry in my pocket battery number 2. So I get through half the day and I pop it and I put in a new battery. And the reboot's good for it too.
At least you have the option of putting in another battery, right?
Right.
Of course, if I lose it in the cab, I'm dead.
You're dead.
I'm stuck with AT&T because I have a family plan, and you know, for me to jump would be expensive for my whole clan. But I saw the other day that Verizon's talking about doing family data plans. One of their, I think their CFO said it was inevitable. I would like that. I might jump to Verizon if that happened.
So I actually wrote about this last year, and I said that this is something that you have to do. If you're going to have capped data plans, if you're going to give me 5 gigs a month and not unlimited, then I should be able to use that 5 gigs across as many devices as I want, whether it's a tablet, phone, whatever. I should have the option to allocate those 5 gigs across as many devices as I own.
So I have to say the HSPA Plus on the T-Mobile is not bad. Now, you tell me if these are reasonable numbers, but I'm getting anywhere from 3 to 6 megabits per second download, and upload is always at least 1.2 megabits and often as high as 1.6 megabits.
That's actually pretty bad. Yeah, that's pretty good.
That seems good.
In Houston on the T-Mobile HSPA Plus on some of their phones, I've gotten as high as 8 to 10.
You know why?
Megabits down.
No one freaking uses T-Mobile.
Houston's a pretty big T-Mobile town.
Oh, okay.
We've got historically the companies that T-Mobile has bought were fairly big in Houston, and so it's actually a fairly big town for T-Mobile.
What do you use, Kevin?
I have a Verizon Droid X.
I like the Droid X a lot, but you know that 4.3 inch screen is no longer the. You got to go to 4.5.
I tend to
just throw your phone away. It's obsolete now.
It's obsolete.
Invest a lot and run them till they die.
Really?
Yeah.
But,
This replaced the Trio.
Oh, you do run them till they die.
Oh, wow.
A Trio.
I replaced the Trio last August. A Verizon Trio 700.
You're the third person I've talked to in 3 days that had a Trio. I guess a lot of people kept their Trios. They were loyal to their Trios.
Well, we ran our own exchange system, and so we needed to have some devices around when people called and said, I can't, Windows Mobile Sync is not working. So we had to have some.
So it was a job thing.
Well, and then you get used to it. You get used to the keyboard. I had apps I needed to function on it. And
well, let's talk about the Veer and the WebOS 3. Are these gonna is this enough to save the WebOS? Is HP, which is having some severe problems on the desktop computer side, is this going to be a good thing for HP? Have you played with the Veer or any of these, Peter?
Yeah, I've played with them, and WebOS 3. First off, WebOS was really promising when they first announced it.
I was a fan.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where they've just never really, delivered quite yet, but it still feels really promising. And WebOS seems like a really good user interface for a tablet device. So I think a lot of people are looking forward to that. HP. Just for the same reason that Microsoft might be looking at Nokia. I mean, HP bought Palm for the same reason, which was if mobile is the future of computing, then you need to have a dog in the fight, and you need to have more control of your own destiny. And I think that HP saw the success of the iPad and didn't see anything in Microsoft's pipeline that they could use as an operating system, and said, well, you know what? Screw this. Like, we're gonna do for self.
I look forward to what they do with the tablets. I'd love to see a great tablet.
I think it's encouraging that, and one of the things that HP needs to do is to realize that you have to give people a reason to buy your tablet, or you have to price them so aggressively that it's a no-brainer. I mean, if I were HP, I'd be saying
$289.
Buy an HP laptop, and you get
free tablet.
You get a touchpad for $100 or $200. Just get them out there.
Yeah. You agree?
Take the loss.
Very definitely.
Lose some money for a few years.
Do you use any? Does Cornell use any tablets? Is there any interest in that?
Students have them. You
see them around? I see you got your new iPad.
See them around quite a bit.
I would. I was thinking, is it a good choice for a student? It just seems like typing on it, and that's one of the things students do an awful lot of. It just doesn't seem ideal.
For our students, probably not, because they're so heavy into spreadsheets and things like that.
Yeah.
But for reading and other materials,
great for that.
And recording,
if you get all your books on there and record lecture notes.
The books are going to be tough because the publishers seem to be charging the same amount of money for an e-textbook as they do for a physical one. And
because their costs really aren't the paper and the.
And once you're done with it, they can take it away, and there's no resale value on it. Where you may be able to get 25 to 50% of the purchase costs back at the end of the semester for a paper book.
Right.
So it really hasn't taken off.
That's an interesting point. I did see that Amazon is now going to support the EPUB format as well as its Mobi format, which is very good news. It means EPUB, if Amazon does indeed do that, it means EPUB will be completely dominant. And it's a good standard. It's a standard everybody else uses. But you're still not going to see textbooks on EPUB. Kevin Baradet is here. He's CTO at the Johnson School of Management at Cornell University.
Yes.
Great to have him.
Thank you.
Longtime observer and of the tech world, going back to Comdex.
Yep.
What is it? PC Expo you
PC
mentioned?
Expo,
Wow.
Tech Expo.
Tech Expo. So what was it like, working with Dvorak on those Comdex awards?
It was a lot of fun. Especially when it would get down to the end and people would start arguing for their, advocating
that would be fun.
Their choices.
Get a little heated?
Typically, you'd divvy up into teams, and each teams would get one of the areas that their award is being for. And so your team picked their winner, and then each team then presented to the group as a whole and advocated for like a best in show.
Right.
So it was a lot of fun. Very often Peter Coffey,
Peter Coffey.
Peter Coffey would run the judging, and so he would bring in the hair voting system for proportional voting.
What's that? The more hair you have, the bigger your vote?
No, it's where you rank. It's ranked voting, where you
rank
1 through 10. So you really only need kind of one ballot to rank your winners.
Right.
So if your primary one doesn't rank, your vote still counts because you may pick a second one that ends up at the top. So, it was a lot of fun. Seeing some of the small companies that started up and their various strategies, guys who would come in and say, we got a neat product. We figure we've got 2 years before the majors see what we're doing and, run us out of the business on the cost. So we're going to do what we're going to do. We're going to make as much money as we can. And when it gets to the mass market, we're going to fold our tent and go on to our next idea. So they weren't looking to
honest.
Build an empire.
When I think of the Tech TV did the Best of Comdex Awards, I think it was Best of Comdex a couple of years in a row, 3 or 4 years in a row. And I think of the winners, I think, boy, this is not a good system. One year it was the Danger Sidekick. One year it was the Moxie player. Remember the Moxie? This was a competitor to Replay and TiVo. No.
It was Paul Allen's company.
Yeah, it was Paul. It was pre-Paul. Paul ended up buying it, but it was the guy who did Web TV. What's his name? That created Moxie with his Web TV money when Microsoft bought it. And it's so hard to pick something that actually goes on and succeeds.
Well, you can only pick what's in front of you and what looks interesting and new and fresh. And
that's the problem, is you get excited about the new and fresh when often the same old is what ends up making money.
Sometimes things take root, and other times they just wither or give someone else an idea and gives them the missing piece they need to build on top of.
We're going to talk more. I've got some big news about, it's turning into This Week in Cell Phones. More cell phone news and Android news and more. But it is, after all, that's where everything's happening. Before we get to that, though, I would like to thank our friends at Carbonite for sponsoring TWiT. Carbonite is that great backup solution, backing up to the cloud. And, any backup solution's got to have in my opinion, a few features absolutely critical. First of all, it's got to be automatic, or you just won't do it. If it doesn't happen automatically, you're not going to remember. Carbonite is always backing up. I really like that. So once you do that initial backup of all your data, and by the way, it is every bit of data on your personal data on the internal drive at the same price. No tiers or anything. You don't have to worry, am I backing up too much? $59 a year, less than $5 a month for everything on your internal drive. And then once it's backed up, it's just kind of constantly kept backed up every time you're online. I love that. They allow encryption. Of course, it's encrypted 128-bit SSL, so you don't have to worry about being in an open access spot or anything like that. But they allow additional encryption using strong encryption. Only you hold the key, so your data is private. And here's the beauty part of it. Your data is always accessible. It's cloud storage as well as backup. So wherever you are, you don't have to wait for a disaster. You can log into your Carbonite account on any PC or Mac, any iPhone, Android phone, BlackBerry, Blueberry, Yellowberry, and there's your data. available to you so you can access it, edit it, download it. If the worst should happen, you lose a hard drive, you lose your computer, your data is still good, and you just get that new computer, log into your Carbonite account, say restore, and it's all there. It's really kind of miraculous. And it is the most affordable, most effective solution out there. Mac or PC, just $59 a year. Somebody did the math. That's 16 cents a day for peace of mind, for sleeping well. You try it for free for the next 2 weeks. Go to Carbonite.com, use the offer code TWiT, and if you decide to keep it, you can sign up for the 12-month subscription and get 14 months when you use the offer code TWiT. 2 months free. Carbonite, CARBONITE.com. You got to back it up to get it back, so do it right.
Do they
Carbonite?
Do they have a app for phones?
You know, they should. They don't. Somebody was asking on the on the radio show this week, actually, about backing up his phone. If it's an iPhone, that's automatic, right?
Yeah.
Android phones, a little more tricky. You might have to get an app if you want to do more than just what Google allows. That's a good idea, though. They should probably do that. Why, did you lose your phone?
No, but it might be useful with the outages and some of the cloud services that have been seen recently. Might be nice to have it backed up in more than one location.
Good point. Good point. Good point. This is a little scary for those of us who use Android phones. 97%, something like that, of Android phones are vulnerable to leaking data. With the release of Android 2.34, Google patched that security hole, but so many phones are not upgraded. It means that millions of phones are yeah. Kevin's pulling his out and looking at it. No, I can tell you right now, it ain't 234.
It doesn't have 2.3.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Unless you rooted it.
No.
It is a Firesheep-like sidejacking exploit. It steals an authentication cookie, so it allows somebody to basically log in as you without having your password. Are you all right?
Verizon says I'm up to date.
Yeah, right. Of course, Verizon wouldn't. Up to date with what? That's the problem, is that 234, Google releases it, but does Verizon put it out? We don't know.
No, it takes quite
Forever.
a while. If you get on Google's site and read through Google, like, we fixed that months ago. Go talk to your carrier.
Right.
Well, and also Google has fixed this in a kind of a smart way. They've patched it on the server side, so the connection is forced to be secure on the server side, rather than pushing down, an update and forcing the carriers to do it. They just fixed it on their servers. So at this point,
they're lucky that they can do that.
Yes.
So you don't have to worry then, because the logins now are SSL. Still, that's the kind of news that Facebook paid Burst and Marsteller a lot of money to spread.
Well, that's not necessarily true. When I was at RSA, one of the things they were talking about is in Eastern Europe, some of the criminal enterprises has infiltrated some of the cell phone companies. And so they're putting
bad
up
guys
rogue,
run the phone company?
No, but they put up rogue cell sites and grab the traffic and then pass it on to the real site. And so they have the potential to look at what you're doing.
You mean rogue towers?
Yeah.
I've heard about this, but I've never heard about it actually ever happening.
Yeah.
It's theoretical more than...
I think it's more of a... I mean, it's possible and you just don't know, but...
it's like when they put out those fake ATM machines that get you to swipe your...
There was one of those a few blocks from my house, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
How long was it there? Did they say?
It wasn't that... I mean, I found out about it because it was somebody on a local blog kind of was posting photos of it, and it got taken away. But it looked like... I mean, it looked kind of fishy, but it... if you're just like drunk and
if you're drunk,
trying to get some money,
it's 2 in the morning.
Like you're gonna pop your card in, and then like it's not gonna work, and then you're just gonna go find another ATM. Meanwhile, scan your card.
I guess it's out of money. I'll go down the road. Netflix in the news. Netflix, according to TechCrunch, although there may be some disputing of this, is now the single largest source of internet traffic in North America. 29.7% of peak downstream traffic, up from 21% last fall. It's the success of Netflix streaming, obviously. Do you block that on your network, Kevin, to Johnson?
No.
You allow people to watch Netflix?
Sure. It's the purpose of a research
Thank you.
entity.
It's the purpose of the internet.
Correct.
That's right. I might need to watch, I don't know, Michael Douglas in Wall Street to learn
Sure.
from the best.
I mean, there are certain networks that are filtered because of production
Right.
systems and things like that. But for the most part, it's controlled through education for the students. And
This story comes from Sandvine, which monitors internet traffic. Sandvine says that HTTP traffic, 18%. BitTorrent traffic, 11%. YouTube, 10%. This is during peak hours. Netflix, 29.7%. Wow. We're watching, and no wonder there's bandwidth caps from AT&T and Comcast. We're watching a lot of video. This red bar here on the right is real-time entertainment streaming video. The green one, peer-to-peer file sharing. God, it's kind of a lot of people doing this, I guess. Web browsing, number 3. Then real-time communications, I guess, IM. Not chat. Bulk entertainment, which is, I guess, downloads, 2.8%. That's us. We're the pink thing there.
It would be interesting to see those numbers instead of just raw traffic transactionally. In other words, I'd like to see how many HTTP connections are made versus how many peer-to-peer connections are made versus how many people are actually grabbing Netflix content. And I think that might be an even more interesting chart.
Do you think it's how long before there's a backlash among internet service providers, or will they just finally say, "Well, this is what you want. This is what you're paying for"?
Oh, I don't think it's a backlash. I think it's going to be profitable for them. I think you'll end up being tiered because of it, and people who do more video are going to end up paying more, and that'll help pay for the infrastructure. I think that's ultimately where things are going. All the ISPs have said that they're looking at that heavily, and usually when they say they're looking at a way to make more money, they're not kidding.
Miramax just signed a deal with Netflix to put its movies on their Netflix streaming. According to Stacy Kramer running and paidcontent.org, could be a $100 million deal to the studio. Netflix is obviously doing well. They're buying content like crazy. They're saying we're gonna salvage shows that are dying. Pretty impressive.
Well, they're trying to lock this stuff up because they know. I mean, they're going to see some real serious competition sooner or later.
From whom?
And
Amazon?
It might be from Amazon. I've heard Microsoft is planning something. I think that the studios
Apple?
are, Apple perhaps. I think the studios are recognizing that if they don't want to have one dominant player,
Right.
have so much control over the market, because then they're going to start to have, to be able to set their own price. And the studios want to be able. It's just the studios want to be able to, play a bunch of different players off of each other.
Isn't the truth? Isn't the key word of the internet disintermediation, eliminating the middleman? And doesn't it make sense that the studios, like musicians before them and podcasters, are just going to go straight to their customers? What do they need HBO for? What do they need a cable company for? Why don't they just go direct to their customers? What do they need Apple or Amazon for?
Well, they don't control the final distribution pipe to the customer.
The internet is the final distribution pipe.
It's about discoverability and about getting paid. I mean, people, the reason why Netflix works is because you pay $8 a month or whatever it is for monthly streaming, and it's, and you have that service. And it's one application that you can use across lots and lots of different devices. You don't want to be in a situation where I have to go and use each filmmaker's or studio's app to be able to watch the movie I want to watch. You want a single point.
You could look at the Comcast Universal merger as a lot of that being involved.
Yeah,
I think because they have already indicated they want to do things with apps and with streaming, and I think you're going to see other companies probably make a play for an internet service provider as well.
Interesting, really good article that I recommend from IT World. Kevin Fogarty writing in here, talking about whether Netflix is swamping the internet. ISPs, of course, state that they are highly congested because of all these people watching things like Netflix. That's why AT&T has 150 gigabyte a month cap on its DSL, 250 on its Universe. It's why Comcast has a 250 gigabyte a month cap. It turns out, according to this, because of the way Netflix does it, Netflix content is distributed and cached ahead of time. So, in fact, it doesn't hit the ISPs anywhere near that much. It turns out Netflix, according to Sandvine, same people who did this original report, Netflix users take up an average of 40 gigabytes a month from streaming media. Twice that amount of bandwidth used for streaming data to an Xbox or a game console. So the problem is that if you are watching, I don't know why it's more on an Xbox. Maybe it's higher quality. If you're watching on an Xbox, you could be using 80 gigabytes a month for your movies out of the 150 gigabyte cap.
Well, I mean, the ISPs have an incentive here, right? Because they want to be able to say, we're getting slammed. Our users are using so much bandwidth. We have to charge more. We have to offer tiers. We have to start, instituting caps and things like that. When there is an argument that, yeah, you guys just need to be managing your networks better.
It eats up the bandwidth quickly, but your ISP will be there to make sure you don't go over. You pay $10 for every 50 gigabytes you go over the limit every month. That's the cost of allowing the FCC to avoid limiting the price gouging plans ISPs impose on consumers and small businesses, rather than seeing through the smoke and realizing it's not compensating for Netflix that is taking up most of the carrier's R&D and network upgrade work. Basically, they're saying something I've said a long time, which is it doesn't cost the ISPs that much. They're using it as an excuse. It's a little complicated. I'm not an IT guy. If you're an IT guy, read the article and you can tell me what it means, because I don't understand it. It sounds like he's saying conflicting things here. Let's see here. The playbook. Anybody excited about that at all? BlackBerry Playbook sales missed targets by over 90%.
Now, RIM is saying that story is nonsense.
Okay.
So,
but how many are they selling really?
I don't know. I think that they said that they were going to announce numbers really soon.
Oh, good.
I don't know if they're going to, blow out the doors or anything with the sales, but even though there isn't a lot of like overt enthusiasm, I see a lot of people on our site on Gadget, who are enthusiastic about it, and there are definitely like people who are really, really passionate about BlackBerry who were waiting to buy a playbook.
Right.
So I'm not sure I'm not sure it's a huge number, but it definitely has a core, group of people that are passionate about it.
And I have to apologize because I got an email and I made a mistake. Apparently, when I was running a program and I would launch another program, it looked like it froze the original program. And I was saying, well, that's kind of not real multitasking. It's pseudo multitasking. Somebody sent me an email saying that's a setting in the settings. If you are willing to kill your battery, you can have true multitasking where this will continue when the next program runs. But it's off by default because, of course, why would you want that? So, I don't know. I mean, yes, okay, it can do it. But why would you want that?
We could talk about some of the problems with RIM for another hour.
Yeah.
But I think one of the biggest issues I have with the playbook is that first off, it shouldn't be called the playbook. I think that
it's a business book, supposedly.
The workbook or something like that. I mean, RIM keeps saying this is the first enterprise class tablet.
Yeah, but
okay, fine. Don't call it the playbook.
Right.
I mean, I think there's actually something. I think there's actually an opportunity to kind of market an enterprise class, super secure tablet. But I think that RIM just is trying to have it both ways, and I think that it's kind of muddying the waters. It's kind of confusing people.
I do like the form factor. I like how well the QNX operating system responds. It feels very fluid.
It's a nice interface. It's very WebOS-like.
Yeah.
And I actually, Peter, I think the name Playbook, I think it's a double entendre. Playbook also implies strategy. And the idea that, you can do your plans on this, you can build your playbook. And so I think that that they're trying to imply that you can use it both for entertainment and for work. It's another one of those frustrating things like this.
You know, I think that they shouldn't be emphasizing the entertainment gaming elements. I mean, I think that they should make a case for it specifically as an enterprise device, and I think that they're not doing a good enough job of that.
Right. Yeah, I
didn't mean to cut you off, Dwight.
Well, I think it reminds me a lot of the Zoom in that it's fairly unfinished.
Right.
And
there's no email.
It's frustrating on all of these tablets, even the Honeycomb tablets, and even after the 3.1 update on the Zoom, they all feel unfinished to me. They all feel like there's something not there that I wish was there, and
compared to the iPad.
Compared to the iPad, which is, Apple hit it out of the park, with the first version, and these guys are still struggling trying to figure out who they want to be, and they're not doing it for me yet. Right. But all of them have potential. I'm really interested in the WebOS tablet. I think, if HP does it right and can market it half decently, which is a question with HP, I think it has a lot of potential. But could just be another tablet with potential,
NVIDIA's CEO is very excited. Most of these, the Zoom and this Galaxy tablet have the Tegra 2 chipset in it from NVIDIA. He says that the next generation tablets are going to fix all these problems. He said NVIDIA is working with Google on Ice Cream Sandwich. In fact, I didn't know this is a quad-core Tegra called Kal-El. So that's kind of interesting. Yeah, I love this tablet. The software is not really very mature. It's little things like this, and somebody told me it doesn't happen on theirs, but watch when I rotate. Maybe it's because I have all these widgets. It takes forever, then it has to rebuild the screen.
Yeah, that's a little.
That's too slow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't have any Android tablets at the moment, but or Honeycomb tablets at the moment. But I did review a couple of them, and the rotation was definitely not that slow for me.
Okay, so maybe I'm holding it wrong.
But the thing is, it shouldn't be that slow, even if you do those things. So I think that's one of the. I mean, Honeycomb was rushed. I don't think anyone would dispute that. I don't think Google would dispute that. It came out too quickly because they felt the pressure from the iPad, and it's something that they're gonna fix in post, so to speak.
But Kevin, you've seen this all before at all these CESs and Comdexes. This is clearly a category that is not a flash in the pan, or is it?
I don't think so. I think this RIM is probably trying to retain the loyalty of the BlackBerry crowd and STEM defections, right. And it's all these folks are looking like they're doing the ready, fire, aim kind of strategy.
That's exactly right, I'd say. Yeah.
That they can't afford to let Apple's gap get any larger. So they're trying to get something out the door, figuring we'll fix it as quick as we can so we don't fall further behind.
Let's see. What else? What other big story? Am I missing something, guys? Is there a big story? It feels kind of like a little bit of a slow week. We led with the Apple stories. Huh?
A lot of little stories, but nothing really monstrously major, I think, jumps out. The story about Zuckerberg saying kids under 13 should be allowed on Facebook.
We want to make a Facebook for kids. Yeah,
that's just like
he's the new. He's taken the Eric Schmidt Slime Award for the creepiest CEO for the last 6 months.
Well, there's already enough creepy stuff involving kids on Facebook now.
We know a huge number of
bad idea.
A huge number of under 13-year-olds do use Facebook.
Right.
And then there was the woman who reported that her daughter, when she signed up for Neopets many years ago, gave a fake last name, and now that her daughter's turned 18, she's receiving credit card solicitations
on that name
with that fake name. And
that's interesting.
And she went to Neopets and said, "Are you selling the information of these children once they become of age?" And they haven't really said anything.
That's interesting. My daughter was huge into Neopets. I'll have to look and see what kind of mail she's getting. She definitely used Neopets like crazy. It's the federal government that prevents or restricts the kinds of information sites can gather about kids under 13. So Facebook, in order to do this, would have to have some sort of special dispensation from parents or that kind of thing. But you got to figure there's so many sub 13-year-olds using Facebook. It's just that I can't really blame Mark for that. He sees a big market. Is it really creepy, Dwight?
Oh, I think so. I mean, if you I think my kids are a lot older than that now, but the idea of my kids say at 9, 10, or 11 with free reign of a site like Facebook. Now, you could provide parental controls and, give people the ability to kind of have control of what their kids do, but you can't control what other people do.
Right.
And that's kind of the problem. It's by definition social, and you have to worry about what other people are doing on it, not just what your kids are doing.
I love the actually, we'll take a break and come back, but I'm going to talk a little bit about, actually, this is a fairly big story. LinkedIn's IPO was this week.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And they thought that the IPO would go at about $45. That was what they priced the shares at. By the end of the day, they were twice that. And a very interesting opinion piece in the New York Times by Jonas Sarah, in which he says the bankers scammed LinkedIn. And it happens all the time. And I'm very curious what you guys think about this. But we'll talk about it in just a second. Before we do, though, I'd like to say hello to our friends at Citrix, makers of the great GoToAssist. If you're in the support business, I know a lot of you is. A lot of you's got to get on the phone there and tell, if it's not family and friends, colleagues, clients, or maybe you're actually an IT or software support person, how to fix something and walk them through it on the phone. You don't have to do that, I would hope, Kevin.
Yes, we do, and especially helping out Mom.
Mom's always fun. That's where GoToAssist Express is so cool. Not just for moms, but for anybody where you want to if I could just let me at your computer, I could fix it. A lot of times your clients or your supportees aren't nearby. Maybe they're down the hall, across town, or even across the world. With GoToAssist Express, you log in to their computer and fix it yourself. Now, I know there are many choices to do this, but this is the one that you want to take a look at. You can try it free for 30 days. I'll tell you how in a second. For a couple of reasons. First of all, it's Citrix, so you know it's 128-bit SSL, 24/7 support for you, and the fastest back end. I mean, they really know remote access. It's also very easy for your customers because all you have to do is send them a link. They click it. They always have to download the GoToAssist software, and that's to keep it always fresh, always up to date. 30 seconds later, though, they're ready to go, and you're fixing their system. There's chat. You can do 8 sessions at once. You can do unattended sessions if your clients allow you. That's nice. You don't have to wait till they're there. You can find out what operating system they're running, what software is running in the background. There's so many nice features for anybody who's doing support remotely. I want you to try it free for 30 days. They have day passes, too, for those of us like you who have to fix Mom's computer from time to time. I use this with my mom. It's great. GoToAssist.com/twit. That's the website. GoToAssist.com/twit. And sign up for the 30-day free trial. If you've got a bunch of people, you know what you do? You wait until you got a bunch of people who need support. You queue them all up. Then you trigger the free trial, and you've got 30 days to fix it all. The clock is ticking. It's a new game show. 30 days to fix it. GoToAssist.com/twit. We thank them for their support. So Thursday, LinkedIn. First of all, is LinkedIn a good investment? Dwight?
Boy, I don't know. I'm so traumatized from pre-2000 in the dot-com.
There's no question we're in a bubble. The only difference is it's not a stock market bubble. We're definitely in a bubble. 8.5 billion for Skype?
I'm too conservative. I would not invest in LinkedIn, but and mainly because I probably would be holding out for Facebook.
That's going to be the big one.
I just don't see LinkedIn being that compelling, and I think there's a lot of pent-up demand for people wanting to invest in social media, which is why I think it was just a sexy stock at the moment, which is one of the reasons why it came in so hard.
What do you think? LinkedIn stock in your future, Peter Rojas?
You know what? I'm the world's worst stock picker.
No, I'm worse.
So
I'm worse.
I do not. I have I just let my guy just handle all that stuff. And I just every time the few times that I've picked stocks, I've always lost money.
You can't.
So
it's like horse races.
And it's like you can't even I can't even second guess. I can be like, well, like my gut instinct says to buy, so maybe it should have said that I don't buy. But then maybe it's it's like no, I just stay away. Let the experts,
let the pros handle it. They don't even do that well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing all right, but I mean, I definitely definitely made some bad decisions in 1.0.
I think you hit the nail on the head, Dwight. I think that people can't buy Facebook, so they're casting around for what's the most Facebook-like thing out there. I want to buy that.
And I think LinkedIn is a success. I think it's heavily used by business. It's kind of the it's become the social resume for people, and I think it's a big deal. But I don't think necessarily that it's not Facebook. And I think that's what people are waiting for. Talking about stock picking, I bought Apple when it IPO'd. This was back before I covered tech. And a few years later, I thought it was such a stinky stock, I sold it. So,
and you were right a few years later.
I was, just after it came out. But I wish I had held on to it now.
Well, but that's the part. That's exactly the point. How the hell can you tell?
Right.
I had a friend whose father is a professional gambler and primarily horses. And he told me one time, you're never going to beat me at this game.
So why bother?
Because I'm at the track every day.
Yeah.
I know the horses. I know the people. And it's the same way with the professional
although you have to
investors.
If
they
you
have
look
information
at you look at professionally managed funds, they don't do that well either. They often don't do as well as the market as a whole. So here's some numbers. This is from Joe Nocera's column. First of all, $16 million in profit last year. $16 million in profit. So it's not a hugely profitable company. They hired Morgan Stanley and the Bank of America's Merrill Lynch division to manage the IPO. That's what you do. You hire the bankers. They're the underwriters. They have to do that. They gauge the market and decide on the price. They decided that the LinkedIn IPO initial shares would be valued at $45. At that point, they get a chunk of it to sell to their in-house investors. They're big fish. However, unless you're one of those big fish, you ain't going to get it for $45 because when the stock market opened, it was already at $84 or $83 a share. So LinkedIn only gets the $45 a share. They sold 7.84 million shares, raised $352 million for the company. So the company's happy. Bankers get 7% of the deal as their fee. The opening price, not $45, $83. By the time the clock struck noon, the stock was $120 a share, then settled down to $94.25 at the market close. That's a 110% gain on the first day. But here's Joe's point. He said, suppose your trusted real estate agent persuaded you to sell your house for $1 million, which is basically what these bankers did. They said $45. The next day, they turn around and sold the same house to a new owner for $2 million. Basically, this is what Henry Blodgett says Merrill and Morgan did to LinkedIn. They convinced LinkedIn to sell all their stock at $45, and they were getting $84 when the market opened and $94 by the time the market closed. He says it's bad behavior. LinkedIn, of course, gets enough money that they probably don't complain, but I have to say that is kind of slimy.
Didn't Google, when they went public, try to do something to get around
They did
this?
a Dutch auction.
The Dutch auction.
Yeah. Bill Hambrecht thought that up, and that was very clever, and it did avoid that.
Yeah, I'm surprised that LinkedIn didn't do something similar. By the same token, I mean, I don't think they necessarily expected it, or even the bankers expected it to pop as much as it did. And they did I do believe they raised the price.
They did.
I mean, it was lower. It was
$45 was, they raised it a couple of times. I mean, I don't know if how well can you gauge when it's gonna go to? You can't. So it's kind of an educated guess.
And if they had priced it at $83, would it have hit at $100 or $120 to start? You know, is it guaranteed to pop higher than what you do just because there hasn't been a tech IPO like this in a long time?
Right.
Yeah.
So LinkedIn, this company that made $16 million last year, has a $7.9 billion market cap. And are we in a bubble? I think we are. I think we are. The like button, as long as we're talking creepy. Now, this is Wall Street Journal, and I know Wall Street Journal has kind of got a hair trigger on privacy. But they say that the like button and Twitter's tweet button allows sites to basically follow you around the web. Facebook's buttons appear, and I'm curious about this because I just put a like button on my blog. Facebook's buttons appear on about a third of the world's 1,000 most visited websites. I'm sure Gadget uses a like button, right?
Yeah, we'll be bringing back in the Facebook stuff.
You'd be
soon.
crazy not to. It drives a ton of traffic.
I mean, is this surprising anyone that, if a website, anytime a website has any sort of JavaScript, embedded on another site, they're basically tracking you because they can see what's, being called. And with Facebook,
but Facebook is tracking you because they basically have an asset on all those pages. So if you've logged into Facebook anytime in the last month and you continue to browse, even if you don't press the like button, Facebook knows what pages you visited because it's getting its little servlet saying, oh, Leo just visited GDGT. And so Facebook is essentially tracking you with a like button as long as you remain logged in. If you log out of Facebook, you're okay.
Right, and logging out is your solution. I think that's your relief. If you don't want them tracking you, then when you're done with your session at Facebook, log out, which a lot of people don't do.
Nobody does.
Because
I do.
Right, because it's convenient.
You do that, Kevin?
Yeah, clear the cookies, run no script.
Wow.
I logged out forever a year ago.
Yeah, you're smart, and I wish I could do that.
You know what? I have never regretted doing that. So
no regrets. In fact, every time I go to Facebook, and I do every day, I think there's nothing here for me. Yeah, I'm seeing these updates from my friends, but I'm bored. It's not very compelling. I think maybe I should start playing Farmville. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't like Facebook, but I'm there because I want
to
to spy on my kids, and it's also part of my job, But I would think if my kids weren't on it, and I didn't have to do it for work, I probably would not be there.
Facebook says, as does Twitter, as does Google, we don't use that browsing data. But
I don't believe that.
If you're not paying for it, you're not the customer. You're the product being sold.
Well, we're the product being sold then.
Yeah, and your browsing and the like buttons.
We're not Facebook customers. We are its asset.
Correct.
Well, that's true, though, of people listening to this show. Let's not be too quick to tar them with that brush.
Well, you do
if
it.
you're not paying for TWiT, you're an asset.
But you're not selling your
I'm not selling
demographic data.
No, I am not. I don't have it.
Right.
But Facebook does.
Correct. It has proved useful. I'm helping to put together a reunion coming up in a couple of weeks, and
Facebook's great for that.
And it was a good place to chase people down. But it was interesting. Once we had everybody, everything shifted into an email list and circulated. So none of the stuff that's been going back and forth with updates on people has been flowing through Facebook.
I find it really hard to believe that Facebook's not using this stuff. So think about it. I mean, Facebook, you create a Facebook page, you voluntarily give it a huge amount of information about you, not just your age, but I mean, just a ton, your social graph, all sorts of information about you. Now they know that. And every time you visit a page with a like button, they know you visited that page. It seems like they're aggregating a huge amount of valuable data. Why would they not use that?
Well, the data you put in might not be true.
Oh. So that's your advice? Lie?
Well, it depends. It's your choice.
But a lot of companies collect a lot of data and then
don't do anything.
Either they don't have the mechanism to use it, or it may cost them more to use it than to leave it alone for now. But certainly in the future, Facebook could always come back and take that data, and it would be at that point historical data. As well as current, and it would be even more valuable. So the fact that they're not doing it now doesn't mean they won't do it in the future, right?
Ken from Chicago tells me that it's a violation of Facebook's terms of service to lie. Do not lie to them. Do not lie to
Mark Zuckerberg.
Do not lie to them. Twitter says we don't keep those. Our cookies expire very quickly. I don't know about that. Big explosion at Foxconn, the Foxconn plant. This is where everything is made. Huge. I mean, everything is made, including all the Apple stuff. Let's see. I'm just looking at this story a couple of days ago. The explosion was due to a special dust, which is used to clean the screens of the iPad. It's a flammable dust, and someone was smoking. The explosion occurred in a polishing plant. Oh, the humanity! All those iPads lost. It's the production line of the iPad 2. Unclear what the impact will be on Apple, but there's already shortages of iPad 2, so get ready. There might be more.
Yeah, there were people online picking up the chits yesterday morning
Now's the
from
time.
Europe,
Yeah.
and they were buying AT&T and Verizon ones just to have
Just
one,
to get
even
'em.
though they knew they wouldn't be able to use that part of it.
Right. Desperate to get them.
They were, definitely making sure that these people knew they were buying something they couldn't use, and they really didn't care.
So, by the way, those of you who feel that Sony's troubles are over, people were killed. I'm sorry, in the Foxconn plant, 3 people have died so far. So I apologize for implying that all we lost was iPads. Obviously it's a tragic accident. Sony, speaking of tragedy and accidents, apparently somebody's put a phishing site on one of Sony's servers out of Thailand. So then this has nothing to do with the PSN hack. They've been hacked again. I don't know.
They should put somebody new in charge of their security.
to kick them when they
Howard
can.
Stringer said that called the original hack and the problem with the network being down for a month a hiccup, and said that no network is secure, and
Yeah. It's
so, and they're still not back up in Japan, right? Japan hasn't certified PSN to come
That's
back
right.
up,
They were.
right?
Japan took it very seriously.
Yeah.
Let's see. I guess that's. I can't think of anything else. Chat room, you got anything else we should talk about, or should I just wrap it up? I want to thank Kevin Baradet for joining us. He's at the Johnson School of Management at Cornell University. Came here for the sunshine.
We've had sun recently.
Oh, okay, good.
The rain has stopped.
Thank goodness.
Although there were ducks swimming in the drainage ditch in front of my house when I left.
Kevin sent me an email, said, I want to be on Twitter. I said, come on down. It's been great having you. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. Also here, the great Peter Rojas, immortal legend of gadget fame, GDGT.com.
We just relaunched, so people got to check it out. It's a best place to ask and answer questions about gadgets on the web.
So you're now like the Quora for gadgets?
Yeah, well, I think Quora is a gadget for Silicon Valley stuff.
Much more appropriate.
Yeah, that's how we talk about it.
That's what we say. Yeah, I know. I know it's because I've been getting questions. Oops, let me put the screen up. I've been getting questions in my email. Ryan Block wants to know, how come the Netflix doesn't support HDMI on the iPad 2? Things like that. This is cool.
Yeah, it's we created something that we think makes it kind of fun to ask and answer questions about this stuff, and we did some really interesting stuff on the UI that no one is really doing. That it's kind of hard to explain without being able to show it. But
should I show it?
Yeah, if you log in,
let me log in. Yeah, I don't know why I wasn't logged in. It's just this machine. I use it all the time.
Of course.
Yeah, of course I do. Let me connect with Facebook because I think they don't know enough about me.
I'm not sure that might not be working right now.
Oh, okay. Then, welcome back, Leo. But
okay.
I need to. It does work. Congratulations.
Okay, good.
I just need to get remember my password. Don't you hate that? I don't know why LastPass isn't running on this machine. I never enter passwords anymore. Oh, good. Look, I like this. Success equals true. I think that means it's not working.
Huh. Oh, okay.
I don't know why it says that. So let me back out and go back to the front page. Peter,
I haven't been on since the redesign, but I come in here and I've got all these people who are on Twitter who I follow, and they all are saying, Some really smart people use Gadget. Here are a few you may want to follow. These are all people I follow on Twitter. Are you tracking me, Peter?
Hey, what's going on there?
What's going on?
The funny thing is, like, we just created a suggested users list, and there's probably just a lot of overlap there.
Hey, this is great. This is really nice. It's very different. So now, is this kind of a pivot, though? I mean, in the past, what I would do is I'd list all the gadgets that I owned or wanted, and that was kind of the focus of it. Then you added news, so these are all the gadgets I own. They're on my gadget page.
So Q&A was always a big part of the site, and it was actually, when we looked at the user data, the thing that people were kind of using the most. And then what we did was we sort of just pulled away stuff like that people weren't really using as much, and decided to focus on the Q&A part of the site.
Nice.
So if you go to the homepage,
okay,
maybe it should come up.
I'm clicking.
I want to show you
the homepage. Here's the video.
Okay, so first is like a video of Veronica, which you can watch. Probably just skip that.
No, I like
Veronica. It takes a couple minutes.
Okay. All right. I'll skip that. Let's go. Okay. I'll press the let's go button.
And then
stay there, Veronica. Don't leave. Here's the people you suggested to follow. Wait a minute. How can I not be following Peter?
I don't know.
That's weird. Kevin Rose. Oh, I just never got around to. The reason is because I just never thought about it. So now I'm following all those good people. Let me move on.
And so we're just going to give you stuff to do. Like, we keep loading up, new stuff to check out.
This is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it keeps coming at you. Just coming at you.
Okay, there's one question. By the way, is a gadget rep of 42, is that good or bad?
That's low, but you can raise it.
So here's that question. Why does HBO Go, not Netflix, play? Why doesn't it play via HDMI on the iPad 2? So let me go to that question because I'm curious. What is the answer? So this is a little Quora-like. I mean
a little bit. We're just trying to do something that's, kind of optimized for gadgets. And, so when you build your list of gadgets, that's how we will send you questions. So you'll see questions from your friends, but also from the gadgets that you
that's
have
good.
on your
Yeah,
list.
so that's probably why I got this. Now, I love it. You can vote up questions. Mark is a good answer.
Yeah.
And so the top questions will be the ones that have the best answers, right?
Yeah, presumably, yeah.
Yeah. This is great. Very nice. So I'm going to have to play with this.
Yeah, people are digging it. I mean, Ryan and I spent a long time working on this design and trying to, take away a lot of the pain points, and then trying to create something that people would find, more engaging and more fun. And, we're at heart, we're just like super gadget nerds, and we just wanted something that as gadget nerds, like, we could go and just spend a lot of time with.
I do like this. I never quite understood the idea behind Quora and FormSpring, but this is a little more directed, so I think that's kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it's just focus on gadgets. If you have gadget questions, it's a good place to, ask them. And if you have, but the thing is, it's almost like kind of more fun to answer questions than to ask them.
Right. That's got to be the key, because you got to get people to answer them. That's where the content comes from.
Yeah. Though I have to tell you, we need more people asking questions too. So we just rolled this out a few days ago. We actually haven't even publicly announced it yet.
Oh.
I think this is as public as we've been as
exciting
on TWiT.
Well, congratulations.
Thanks.
Yeah. So that's gdgt.com. If you don't have an account, you should make one, and then you should follow Leo Laporte, because he's a very nice guy, and he needs a my reputation's up 2 whole points. Thank you.
You don't want to see Ryan's rep score.
Is it real high?
Yeah, it's pretty high.
Thousands?
It's the rep score.
Yeah, well, it's, he's Ryan. Oh, well.
Yeah, it's pretty. I think actually he can just give himself whatever score he wants.
Yeah, that's why it's so high. He's got, let's see, 6,196 reputation points.
Yeah.
Chimana gramanas. Hamana.
So,
thank you for being here, Peter. Great to see you again.
Thanks for having me back on.
Mr. Dwight Silverman does so many things. Of course, his day job is at the Houston Chronicle, where he runs the tech blog.
We just relaunched our blog network. In fact, the URL has changed.
Oh, what is it now?
It's blogsingular.cron.com. We were using a 2005 installation of movable type.
Wow.
We are now using WordPress 3 point something, and we'll be going to 3.1 soon, but we are now on a modern platform. We've done a redesign, and I'm it's changed my life. So I'm a blog,
You blog several times a day now, I think it looks like.
I do, and I kind of have been the point person on the redesign and the launch editorial point of view, and it's been just a blast, and our staff loves it. Usually when you make a technology change, journalists don't like it. They love this. They're excited.
Dwight also hosts his own radio show on Pacifica Radio in Houston.
Wednesday nights, kpft.org. It's Technology Bites with 4 other geeks, and it's a really good time. We've had Leo on a few times. You need to come back, Leo.
Anytime. I love doing it. It's a really fun show. Really enjoy it. We also invite you to buy a brick. Bricks.twit.tv. Our bricks are on sale. We've sold over 400 of them. That's very exciting. We're going to have some. If you go to bricks.twit.tv, you'll see the different bricks you can buy. We have a 4x8 brick, which is, I think, $128. You can get the 8x8 brick. Let's press the button. What happened here? Yeah, there it is. 8x8 bricks, which are, I see what happened. Which are $512, and if you want a logo, $640. And we will put them on the wall of honor in the entry lobby of the new TWiT studios. So a lot of people are buying them. It's really cool. And it helps us pay for the incredibly high cost of a brand new studio. So I saw the ballparks do this. I thought, well, this would be kind of fun. Bricks.twit.tv, or you'll find it at the front page of twit.tv. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you. It's great to see you, Kevin.
Thank you.
And thanks for joining us. We do the show every Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific at live.twit.tv. Meanwhile, what do I say at the end of the show? Oh, another twit. It's in the can. See ya.